So, this is Jason Ashcraft. I'm here in the historic Silbach Hotel with Ben Sollee.
Hey, Jason.
And Ben, as everyone knows, is a native Kentuckian, so I wanted to pick a nice, very Kentucky traditional venue to do this in. This is a very historic place, so the ambiance is set.
Mm-hmm.
So you've just released Half Made Man, which I think you've said it's one of your most personal albums that you released. Why is it your most personal album?
Well, the goal of the record, at least artistically, was to create a collection of self-portraits. And so the songs do that in various ways, capturing the pieces and parts of my personality, whether it's the part that likes to fix things, or it's the part that is impatient, or it's the fatherly part of me. And to capture those in a really intimate and raw way, I invited some wonderful musicians to cut in the studio.
Yeah, and you've had quite a few guest musicians actually join you, so tell me about the process of choosing them and why them and how they contribute to the artistic process.
Well, many of the musicians were folks that I'd played music with, and I really respected their distinct characters as musicians.
Carl Brummel from My Morning Jacket.
Carl Brummel from My Morning Jacket came in and did all the guitar work. Alana Rockland, who's a tremendous jazz, R&B, and hip-hop bass player, came in, and she just covered all the bases. And Jordan Ellis, who's a percussionist I've been working with for a while, played all the percussion. And then we had a fiddler come in named Jeremy Kittle. Mm-hmm. And he's from a really diverse background, everything from Scottish fiddling to contemporary classical music ensembles. So the thing about the ensemble was that we didn't have to try very hard to create a unique sound because it was already a unique collection of people. And the production process for me, being a self-produced record, was pretty simple. Let's just get good musicians in a good room with good equipment and play it all down live.
And you also had, as I understand it, a guy who's becoming very popular in the recording scene here in Louisville, Kevin Ratterman, also who worked a lot with My Morning Jacket, Wax Fang, who also helped with the production.
Yeah, I think becoming popular might even be a little bit of an understatement. I think Kevin Ratterman, for the last pretty much decade, has had his finger on what the Louisville rock sound has become. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of the sounds that you hear coming out, whether it's Cheyenne Marie Mize or My Morning Jacket's new record or Wax Fang or all those things, those are all being put out by and recorded by Kevin because he's got this big heart and an unending search for the sound.
Yeah. And he's definitely getting to all the musicians that have the sound.
Well, it's because he cares. It's not necessarily just because he's got a fancy studio or even because of his rates. It's because we want to work with somebody at this point. If we're going to spend all this time and energy and money making the record, we want to work with somebody who gives a damn.
Yeah, speaking of the money, you kind of had a different approach to recording this in terms of how you funded it. Tell us a little bit about that, like how that kind of went down.
Well, the funding for this record was crowdsourced through a platform called Pledge Music, and
truly public music.
I guess so. This project wouldn't even be possible without that kind of support. And so, I think it's fascinating this relationship that's developing with artist directly to fan. Mm-hmm. I think there's some moments that are kind of like a high school prom where it's kind of awkward. You don't know what you can and can't do. But as we become more comfortable with that and the relationship matures, I think it's going to be a really, really profound shift in the music business.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about who are some of the other artists out there that you still, hopefully, at some point in your career would like to collaborate with, whether it be sharing a stage or a recording studio?
Oh gosh, there's so many, friend. There's folks like Paul Simon that I would like to work with.
Oh,
there's folks like Ari DeFranco that I'd like to work with. Mm-hmm. There's a tremendous amount of jazz artists I would love to work with. Brad Meldau, absolutely, hands down, would love to work with him. I'd also love to work with folks that have their hand in the music scene but are also looking at bigger things, like Bill Cosby. I'm a huge Bill Cosby fan. As far as I'm concerned, there's 5 elements in the world. There's water, earth, fire, wind, and Bill Cosby.
What about Steve Martin?
No. I mean, I dig Steve Martin, don't get me wrong, but he's not one of the essential elements in my world.
Okay, gotcha. So, your music has historically been kind of had a activism aspect to it, and your life has, for that matter. You've always been very active in the environmental community. and setting good examples by doing bike tours. Is there anything in the future that's going to happen to where you kind of keep that part of you alive, and how are you going to do it? Any more bike tours? What's some of your other activism goals as you move forward into your career?
Well, for me, my music's always come from a very personal place. What I consider a very sincere expression of who I am and what I care about. And in that way, all the things that I care about as a person come to the surface in my music. And I try to express them through the songs and through the activities around the shows and through the organizations that I work with in relation to projects. And I don't see that stopping anytime soon, because I'm not going to stop caring about those folks. How I can tie in and help those organizations will change as my business grows, and it'll offer more opportunities, if anything. But we for the bike tours, we consider ourselves, we're really trying to do about a third of our touring each year by bicycle.
Where are you biking from this year, to and from?
We biked from Newport Folk Festival, where we had a really wonderful bunch of shows.
Virginia?
Newport, Rhode Island.
Rhode Island, I'm sorry. Okay.
And then we rode our bikes up the coast playing shows to Portland, Maine.
Cool.
So it wasn't a tremendously long tour, but it was a really beautiful tour. And
How many miles would you say?
It was about 330 with the squirrely coast.
And you still have your cello on your back?
Well, the cello actually goes on the side of a bicycle called a Sollee Big Dummy.
Oh, cool.
Which is a utility bike built on an extra cycle frame.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'm going to shift gears here, and I want to kind of close out. But we're obviously
nice
in
word.
Yeah, shift gears. So, as you know, we're in the middle of a big political season. Presidential race is happening. What do you think is at stake right now in the presidential race between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama?
Wow, that's an incredibly broad question. I think, I think there's just a different philosophy about the country. I think there's a realism that's not being talked about. I think it's a really hard job to run a country like America right now. A country where there is so much energy being used, providing for that energy use, keeping things growing when we've grown at such a fast pace. That's like, keeping it, like, for me, I try to look at it as a father. I try to scale everything down to a level that I can understand. I don't understand being a president. I don't know what it takes to be a president. But if I scale it down as a father, and I try to keep, and my son is having a great time, and I try to keep him having a great time all the time. Always growing, always learning, always experiencing something new, always being able to get new friends, like basically growing his, for lack of a better word, business of being a child. It's impossible. You can't always be growing. You can't always be spending time and energy moving forward. Sometimes it's a time of reflection. Sometimes it's a time for repose, and sometimes it's a time for really intense action. And disciplinary action sometimes. And I'm not saying that the president of the country is a father, but I am saying that his role in guiding a lot of stuff with a nation like ours, especially in conjunction with what's the global climate right now, is a very challenging role. And I feel like for my money, for my time, for my energy, for my values, that Barack Obama is going to be a little bit better leader in that sense. Because the country is not a business.
Correct.
The country is a government.
Does Mitt Romney scare you?
No. He doesn't scare me. He seems like a dude who's got his mindset on a job that nobody can really describe to anyone else.
Yes.
Like, how would you describe what it's like to be president? What are your goals? What are your values? How are you going to run the budget for the country and decide who gets money and who doesn't? Whether that's Planned Parenthood or whether that's the public school system. How do you get values and economics and all that stuff? I just don't understand it. All I hope is that that in these debates we will see a candid, honest conversation. And that's the thing that I'm disappointed in both candidates.
Agreed.
And I'm disappointed in the media.
Yeah.
That it's not about that. It's, it's not about that. It's about sensationalism. It's about entertainment. and there's not an actual conversation happening, at least not on the national media level that I see. And that's been a disappointment with me for a long time. It was exactly why I wrote the song A Few Honest Words. Everybody thought A Few Honest Words was about Bush. It's not. It was about the media. It was about the media allowing Bush to manipulate them, and the media going for it and being like, oh yeah, we can stage this shot, and we'll have the monitors here and all this stuff. It's just like we cannot move forward unless it's an honest conversation. And we can't create an honest conversation unless everybody votes. That's what's crazy about it, is we have such a small percentage of people that vote.
Correct. Well, I thank you for your honest conversation you've had here with me. It's been good. Looking forward to hearing more of you tonight at Headliners, and seeing you more in the future. And keep in touch.
My pleasure.
And enjoy your time back here in Kentucky. And thanks for everything.
Thanks, Jason.